Hey guys, I'm back. I'm also Sarah, and you may or may not have noticed this yet, but I'm kind of fat.
You need to leave!
I know. You guys thought I was a skinny legend, and I really, really do hate to break this to you, but I'm not. But Sarah, you're not fat. You're beautiful. Don't say things like that about yourself. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, I am beautiful. Thank you. I'm also smart, funny, cool, and fat. I can be all of those things at once. And just like me, other fat people have the capability to be any and all of those things and a host of other human traits. Unfortunately, we can't all be me. Some of us have to be John Wayne Gacy, I guess. And that's because fat people are also three-dimensional human beings, just like the rest of you. But there is one more thing binding us fatties together, and that's the pressure to just lose all the weight and stop being fat. I wonder why that is. Fatness has never, and likely will never, be considered a neutral attribute. Rather, it's always the before to an inevitable after, forever that first step in the path to becoming our best selves. Because as much as being white, able-bodied, cis, and male is considered the baseline of human existence in the US, so is skinniness, or at least the lack of fatness. These traits are so crucial that even having one can set you so far apart from your peers that it shields you from a world of discrimination and violence that you may have been subject to otherwise. For example, white trans people are significantly less likely to have their lives taken, with 78% of trans victims of murder in 2024 being people of color, and a whopping 56% being Black trans women. Also, Black and Hispanic/Latinx adults with disabilities were more likely than their white counterparts to report unfair treatment due to their race, ethnicity, primary language, country of origin, income, and/or education level, giving disabled people of color another level on top of ableism to deal with in their workplaces, doctors' offices, and even benefits applications. Fatness is no different. Black and Latinx communities have high rates of obesity, with those in poverty or with lower education levels being even higher. Even in the media, we see a greater acceptance of white male fatness. Any John Goodman or Kevin James character is oafish, maybe clumsy, or especially prone to harming themselves comedically in their physical pursuits. But they're also charming main character types who have beautiful, skinny women as their love interests and, most importantly, stay fat. Their fatness may be attributed to overeating or a lack of exercise, but it's never an obstacle to their future happiness or romantic pursuits. Because at the end of the day, they are still three-dimensional human beings who deserve love and respect. Fat women aren't usually given that same treatment. Disney has historically portrayed fat women as evil, matronly, unattractive, and completely asexual side characters. They don't exist romantically unless they're presented as a joke prospect for the prince to quickly laugh off, or as the domineering, overly dominant wife who controls her poor, submissive husband and who we are all rooting against. Fatness is no longer a part of one's identity. Rather, it becomes a changeable obstacle to someone's happiness, attractiveness, and even goodness. Weight loss, along with other efforts towards achieving conventional attractiveness, is a common trope used to make a woman able to pursue romantic relationships or make her become main character material. In the very rare case that a main character is a fat woman who stays fat, she never gets to forget it. She is always being told to lose weight, always being made fun of, always judged by skinny people, and everyone is always shocked that she is romantically and sexually attractive to anybody. Think Bridget Jones. Even better, she's rarely played by an actually fat person, usually a size 6 to 8, who the movie is desperately trying to tell us is massive. Think Regina George getting fat, or Bridget Jones. And what are her worst, most made fun of features? Probably her full face, her big, fat, flabby arms, and worst of all, her big thighs, big hips, and big butt. Wait, that sounds really, really familiar. Who is usually associated with big thighs, big butt, big hips? Oh, that's right. Black women. Are we really doing this again? Can we not leave them alone? No? I have to talk about this? Okay, great. I'm so excited. Yes, once again, Western prejudices have found a way to target Black women. Yay, shocker, we're so surprised. Physical attributes usually associated with Black women are the ones often pointed out as problem issues, especially in pre-2010s media. In media primarily produced by and for white audiences, Black women were often portrayed, as Trevea Hopkins LeBoy states, as mammy types, unattractive, overweight, and unfit for anything more than physical labor or wearing a handkerchief and smiling on a pancake box. Exaggerated depictions, like that of a bent-over Black woman with a large buttock, were the representation of all Black women. Originally, I had this long section talking about depiction of Black women in media, especially fat Black women in media, and then I thought about it for a second and I realized, you know who wants to hear my version of this story? Absolutely nobody. So instead, I'm going to be pointing you to some lovely Black women creators who do a much better job with a much better understanding of this particular issue. Teen Noir's The Market of Humiliating Black Women and Tony Bryan TV's Black Women Are Embarrassing, the Constant Negative Portrayal of Black Women in Media are two excellent examples and should pop up on your screen right now. Please go watch them. For the purposes of this video, here's what you need to know. Fat Black women have been a constant target of ridicule in pop culture. From being typecast as the best friend role, accommodating, loud, aggressive, romantically and sexually uninteresting, and completely and entirely devoted to the existence of their white bestie, to an overt characterization as Tyler Perry's Medea. Medea embodies so many of the stereotypes about fat Black women. She is always angry, loud, somehow asexual and maternal at the same time, very aggressive, and also hyper-masculine. And the fact that she's played by a man is so very John Travolta playing Edna Turnblatt in Hairspray. It feels like we're making an even bigger, no pun intended, joke out of fat women by not even letting us represent ourselves, but rather putting a man in our place to show us how unattractive we are to straight men. And it's even worse for Black women who have already been hyper-masculinized for forever. For a more in-depth look at all of Tyler Perry's work from the perspective of a Black woman, you should watch The Problem with Tyler Perry by Brown Sugar Commentary, another very good source. It'll be up here somewhere. But hey, you know, depiction isn't everything. You can look at fat people, say, hey, they deserve love and respect. They are not inherently jokes, but they should still lose weight. Because it's the healthy thing to do, right? Okay, let's start this off with saying, I am not a medical professional. I am not qualified to give you any medical advice. I don't know anything. The only degree I have is in going to high school. So don't take anything I say with anything but a huge grain of salt. Okay, all of the bases covered? Okay, let's get the obvious out of the way. Unless they are your child, or your loved one who's given you explicit consent, or you are their doctor, I guess, you have no rights to anybody's medical history, and unless they are coughing all over you and you are worried they are contagious and are going to get you sick, you have no right to comment on it either. I don't think well, I don't know if this is necessarily true. I don't think it is. But I don't think any loved one wants to make their loved one feel like they are a burden and that their struggles are somehow my problem. You know, like, you are making me feel bad. Make this about me. But even if we don't intend to, sometimes we can do that, and that's why we have to be really cautious with these kinds of conversations. But hey, maybe you're not a loved one. Maybe you're just nosy and you think you're an empath, and thus you deserve to know everything about everyone. Let's get into the health aspect, just for you. The idea of fatness can be really scary. Shows like My 500-Pound Life or The 1,000-Pound Sisters show us a world in which our bad actions, overeating, not eating well enough, not being active, can make the world literally physically inaccessible for us. We can become fat to the point where we can't even do basic tasks for ourselves, and there are spaces that we may have previously frequented that are no longer accessible to us. We're also faced with medical struggles like type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular issues, and even some types of cancers. So, to an extent, I understand why you're so scared of fatness. I understand why some of you might feel like it is your moral obligation to let the world know how bad it is and that they need to change their lives in order to become healthy again. But fatness in and of itself is not a death sentence, and it doesn't mean that you can't be healthy and active. While fatness is often associated with higher risk for various medical issues, it's not the only factor at play. Fitness and Fatness as Health Markers Through the Lifespan, an Overview of Current Knowledge by Francisco B. Ortega et al. Shows us one way we oversimplify fatness as the crux of unhealthiness. The study repeatedly emphasizes the benefits of fitness over the villainization of fatness. In children and adolescents, they conclude that the biggest factor in increasing mental and physical well-being is increasing muscle strength, not losing weight. For adults, whom they've gotten to do more research for, they found that cardiorespiratory fitness and muscular strength are, in their words, also shown to be related to a lower risk of future diseases and seems to also attenuate the negative effects of obesity in certain health outcomes. They find that the data is, quote, suggesting better health benefits with fitness improvements than with weight/fat reductions. So fitness and fatness both play a role in health and future risk for diseases. One important conclusion they made for adults: that an emphasis should be placed on programs that increase cardiovascular fitness and muscular strength of all adults, regardless of their weight. Why? Because a lack of fitness is dangerous for all of us, regardless of how that sedentary lifestyle manifests physically. Does this mean that fatness is good, actually? That there are no longer any medical risks associated with obesity? Of course not. What it teaches us is that even if you are going into a conversation with the best intentions possible, you're still unlikely to know what a person needs medically just based off of looking at them. I'm not a doctor, but neither are most of you, so there's no reason you should be giving medical advice unsolicited. Chances are, you're not right, and the way you voice your unsolicited, unqualified opinion can make someone feel that they are the problem, that how much they weigh, what they look like, or even how they just exist is the problem. Also, fatness is not always the catalyst, but sometimes a symptom. People with medical conditions like diabetes, kidney issues, IBS, GERD, and even some kinds of cancers may gain weight due to their condition or in the treatment of it. Weight gain can be indicative of greater food accessibility to someone who didn't have that before. Others may gain weight due to a binge eating disorder or in recovery from other EDs like anorexia and bulimia. It can be a side effect to medications that are solving real issues that are much scarier than being fat. For example, birth control, something used by many people assigned female at birth, as it is prescribed as a one-stop shop for anything having to do with our hormones because of medical negligence of our bodies. You can never know why someone is gaining or losing weight, so commenting on them as if they are good or bad is really harmful. If you're concerned about a drastic change in your loved one's body, maybe ask how they are first, and if they bring it up, that is your opportunity to discuss it. Wow, you look so skinny, or wow, you're gaining a lot of weight, are you okay? Is far more harmful than a, hey, how are you? Are you doing okay? But, above all, seek medical advice from someone who is qualified to give some, because regardless of how much you think you want to help, your insecurities about your body, your weight, and how you look can and will slip into the conversation. Okay, so we've gone over why we may feel the way we feel about fatness, what we can do to approach those conversations both socially and medically. So let's talk about how fatness stays an issue. First of all, food. My lovely fellow creator Charlotte Milady recently posted a video about fast and ultra-processed foods, how their producers endear themselves to us when we are children, and how that endearment affects our food choices for the rest of our lives. I'm only going to be going over the aspects that are relevant to our discussion today, but if you want to learn more, please go watch her video. It's really, really good and really well thought out. First things first, fast food is bad. I know. That's like shocking, appalling. Nobody's ever said that before in their lives. I mean, duh. We know fast food is bad, but what does that mean exactly? Fast food is really high in carbs and fat, missing out on a lot of nutrients, fiber, protein, things we need to live. We feel full, but we're not actually satisfied nutritionally. It's like feeding ducks bread. They can technically eat it and it will fill their tummies, but since it has no nutritional value, it's actually bad for them in the end. Wow. Crazy how that works. Along with all those important, necessary things they leave out, fast and ultra-processed foods actually add a bunch of harmful stuff in too. Why? It probably saves them money, honestly. I'm just gonna read out this statement from the National Institute of Health because I don't know how I could possibly summarize it in my own words. The high glycemic white flour products with added sweetening agents flood the bloodstream with glucose without fiber, nutrients, or phytochemicals. Uh, these baked goods are also high in acrylamides and advanced glycation end products, further increasing the glycoproteins in our tissue. The resulting spike in glucose leads to abnormally high amounts of insulin, which will also promote angiogenesis, which fuels the growth of fat cells, increases cellular replication, and tumor growth. The liberal amount of animal protein, including chicken, which many incorrectly believe is the more healthy meat, consumed by most Americans promotes excessive insulin-like growth factor 1, making a synergistic sandwich of insulin and IGF-1, which may accelerate aging of the brain, interfere with cellular detoxification and repair, and promote cancer. The SAD, the standard American diet, has created a nutritional disaster and a significant health crisis that will not be solved by the governmental health care reform. And I'm not even putting that in quotes myself. They said it, not me. So yeah, fast and ultra-processed foods are bad. We probably shouldn't be eating them, and we definitely shouldn't be feeding them to our children. If you want to learn more about why we do still eat them and why we give them to our kids, go watch Charlotte's video. It's really good. But I, and some of you, have the privilege to say things like, I'm gonna eat less processed food for my own health. And that's awesome, and I love that. But there is still the issue of the positive correlation between poverty and obesity. Have you ever heard of a food desert? It essentially means an area in which no grocery stores or supermarkets exist. These tend to be in low-income neighborhoods. Poor people can't shell out the big bucks for organic produce, so Kroger's decide not to go into business in low-income neighborhoods. Are we seeing a pattern here? But Sarah, what about SNAP? Aren't we using our well-earned tax-paying dollars to feed these people? Why, yes, we are. In 2022, we spent a measly 1.9% of the entire federal budget on food stamp programs. Just to clarify, 12.5% or 1 in 8 Americans qualify for SNAP benefits, which means an eighth of our country need federal benefits to eat, and we won't even bump up the spending to that 2%. So yes, SNAP does exist and it does help people even if we are underspending on it. But if Kroger's won't open in low-income neighborhoods, sometimes the closest Kroger is a 30-minute to 1 hour long drive away. And I promise, if someone needs federal assistance to help feed themselves, I'm gonna guarantee 99.999% of the time, they probably can't afford a car. But even with an hour-plus long bus or train ride, people are still limited to the amount of groceries they can carry and the free time they have to actually go grocery shopping. Also, according to the internet, SNAP isn't the easiest program to apply and be accepted to. It's a long process that requires more resources and time than some people have, which makes it even more inaccessible. So low-income communities don't have access to whole foods like fruits or vegetables. What do they have access to? McDonald's and Wendy's don't have the same qualms about opening up in low-income neighborhoods as Kroger or Whole Foods might. They provide relatively cheap, warm, ready-to-eat food that's delicious and fills you up. If you're not in the mood for a burger and fries, your local corner store has a wide variety of chips, soda, candy, that's also simple and delicious. For people with very little spare time, like, I don't know, most of the low-income working class, these are the simplest options. And should we blame them for picking the simplest option? Absolutely not. People in poverty are doing their very best. They are working the same amount, if not more hours than the average middle-class person. They are working harder jobs. I don't want to hear about your accounting job and how hard it is for you to type numbers. Construction, retail, those things are difficult jobs. And they're often working more than one of those jobs. Plus, they can't always drive to and from work, which means stopping by Kroger is not an easy thing. Their transit can be an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours longer than the person who has a car and can drive home or anywhere they want. So it's definitely a significant difference. You know, after that long day of working and being on transit, dealing with other human beings, being a human being, people might get tired. And I don't think it's my right or your right to judge how they feed their families, especially if you are financially stable, car-owning parents who still take your kids to the drive-thru. I'm looking at you, Lisa Barlow.
Go to Taco Bell, for crying out loud.
Oh my
What's
God.
wrong with eating at Taco Bell?
You're
I
raising
love
kids on
Taco
Taco Bell. Who does that?
I love Taco Bell and I also love fine dining. And I used
Yeah, well, your kids and yourself and your husband needs nutrients.
So, poor people don't always have access to fresh food, leaving them with fast and ultra-processed foods that are high in carbs and low in nutritional value, making it more likely for them to be obese. Cool. Not cool. I swear it's not. But not every fat person is also in poverty. So why do they keep being fat? Often we think of fatness or obesity being the result of bad behavior. Things like eating too much or not working out enough makes you fat, right? That's the only thing that makes you fat, right? No. It isn't the only thing that can make you fat, and it's not the only factor at play. We already know that. Just eating less and working out more doesn't fix everybody's problems. For example, cis women and all my AFABs out there are multiple factors that could be playing into why you cannot lose weight or why you are gaining weight. Hormonal imbalances, how our bodies literally change throughout our menstrual cycle, and even societal pressure can make it harder for women to lose weight. Again, cis women, AFABs. Since muscle mass speeds up your metabolism, simply going on a run or doing at-home non-weighted workouts can't be as fast of a process as, I don't know, going to the gym. There are weights there, there is equipment there where you can do some more specific, more strength-based training to grow those muscles. For others with disabilities, these spaces just might not be accessible to them in the first place. And before you say anything about Paralympic athletes, first, there is differences between different kinds of disabilities. Different kinds of disabilities do different kinds of things to people's bodies, and thus they have different athletic ability inherently. And second, if we all held each other to the expectation that since it is possible for an able-bodied human to be an Olympian, then we all should be Olympic-level athletes, then nobody would ever be happy ever. So I don't think it's fair to expect the same from disabled people. Also, disabled people shouldn't have to be extraordinary Paralympians to deserve respect, or at least not get ridiculed in this kind of conversation. But Sarah, what about Ozempic? Okay, yes, Ozempic has been successful in weight loss for some people, but I have 3 huge issues with it. First of all, Ozempic is really, really expensive. Do you know how much it costs for a 30-day dose, 1 month of Ozempic? Anyone? $1,000. $1,000. Maybe not exactly $1,000. Most of the people I saw, it was saying like $968, but round up, that is $1,000. And all of that is without health insurance. Health insurance is kind of a hot topic at the moment, and, you know, there's not much more I can add to the conversation, so health insurance companies, bad. Taking advantage of people because they literally need to be healthy to live, bad. Yeah, really, really bad. And even if you do have health insurance, Ozempic is usually covered if you are treating diabetes, but not usually covered if you're just treating weight loss. So not an accessible option. Second is that Ozempic isn't consistently accessible. There have been multiple Ozempic shortages since the beginning of Ozempic existing. Since so many people want it, since it's so popular and everyone thinks it's this like miracle drug that's gonna make you itsy bitsy, teeny tiny, skinny winny, it's in high demand and the supply doesn't always meet the demand. So you will not have consistent access to Ozempic. And third, nobody seems to win when you lose weight with Ozempic. Even if you had all the money in the world and you had all the access to Ozempic in the world, you still might get ridiculed for it. How do I know? Oprah has all the money in the world and has all the access to medication she wants. And after coming out about losing weight with Ozempic, she got ridiculed like crazy. Nobody can win because several celebrities have been ridiculed for being too fat and then recently have gotten Ozempic and have lost a significant noticeable amount of weight in maybe not very much time. And people, either because they've confirmed this or because they kind of see this rapid weight loss, have realized they're on Ozempic, and all of a sudden their weight loss isn't good enough. I think there's this romanticization of the perfect weight loss story. Someone who just decides to have a change in their life. They decide one day, I'm gonna get skinny. And so they go to the gym all the time and you see their progress pictures of, you know, how their clothes fit over time. And you see what they're eating and how they've completely changed their lives and it's magical. And people love that story because it implies that yes, there was something wrong with fatness. And then really, at the end of the day, people think fatness exists, you know, because of wrongdoing, and that in order to, repent for your wrongdoing, you have to do the work that apparently all skinny people are doing, and they just never told us. It is actually ridiculous. I think if you want people to lose weight, just be happy that they do it. Like, if you care that much about how people look, how much people weigh, then just... if they're losing weight, right? Isn't that what you wanted? Right? No, not good enough this time. Cool. Even the easy peasy lemon squeezy magic solution to weight loss isn't easy. But as we see more people lose weight rather rapidly, the pressure to do the same increases. Because when Ozempic exists, how could we not get skinny? We're currently living through a big shift in the beauty standard. The body positivity movement that normalized having big hips, big thighs, a tummy, after the 2000s was just like, you need to be as skinny as possible. If your thighs touch, you need to go to jail, is sort of ebbing off. We can see this in the media. People usually say like, oh, the Kardashians are taking out their fillers, we know skinny is back in, right? And I mean, they're kind of right. That sort of like inty-minty teeny tiny waist with the big butt is kind of not in anymore. They're taking out the BBLs. I have no interest in saying people shouldn't lose weight because it hurts the movement. That is absurd, a complete overstep, and the antithesis of this whole video. Rather, I'd like to give the world a reminder. Your body, what you look like, how much you weigh, has no moral value. You are not evil because you are fat. Fatness is not evil. Fatness is also not a death sentence and shouldn't be the worst thing that could possibly happen to you. A fear of fatness is a fear of gaining weight. And a fear of gaining weight means you start to love yourself conditionally. If we're not able to maintain the weight we're at or lose weight, then our body becomes unlovable, and thus we have bad self-esteem. It's a whole circle of ickiness. Fatness isn't a punishment. It isn't God smiting you down because you didn't stick to your diet and you didn't go to the gym 6 times a week. If you are constantly afraid that you will be punished for not doing those things, that is deeply unhealthy. And you're no better than the average fatty for thinking that you need to constantly maintain a perfect system in order to maintain your body and thus be lovable. Fat people, skinny people, and all the people in between can all be unhealthy for a variety of reasons. Whether you're predisposed to asthma, certain allergies, diabetes, or certain cancers, you might be predisposed to be ill, and that sucks. But, it's not just the fat people. It's not, I promise. Also, being skinny or losing weight, no matter how much we like it aesthetically, isn't always a good thing. It can be an indicator of poor health as well. But some people would rather look at someone who is malnourished or has an eating disorder and say, body goals, yes, I want to be skinny like her, than be the average, kind of a fatty who's healthy. It's terrifying. And I promise your body is not the most important thing about you. I've always been a bigger girl. I remember in elementary school one time, I was sitting in choir, and this girl behind me went, oh my god, Sarah is so fat. And I knew she was talking about me. And it was the first experience I had where not only was my size noticeable, but someone had an issue with it to the point they were saying this out loud. And it was really scary and sad. I have existed in this body for a long time, and I've heard a lot of comments. Someone once called me thunder thighs and went, oh my god, your thighs move so much when you walk. And I was like, cool. I didn't know I was supposed to be insecure about that. But yeah, I've been to a dietitian when I was younger. I've been to an endocrinologist. I don't eat much, guys. I'm kind of a skinny legend. I don't eat much. I don't live a sedentary lifestyle. I eat a lot healthier than a lot of people my age. And you know what? I still look like this. I could not eat, which I've done, and work out a bunch, which I've done, and it wouldn't change my body massively. So this idea that just stop eating fatty, it's not very, very helpful. And it actually just completely, I think, misdiagnoses the problem. So I just want to make sure all the fellow fatties out there are still feeling good. My big goal for the video was first to tell people to mind their business, but also for the fellow fatties. You are still worthy of love, romantic or otherwise. You still deserve to be depicted with respect. You are not a joke inherently for simply existing in your own body. It is not cool that the media depicts us like that. It's not cool that everyone is so scared of being fat that they forget that other people can also be unhealthy. What? Crazy. I would love to hear if you have any experiences with fatness, if you have any experiences with gaining weight or losing weight, or if any of the depictions or medical issues we've talked about today have affected you. I don't know everything. I just make these videos off of my research and what I know in my head, what I've seen, what I've experienced. So I would love to hear more people talk about their personal experiences, and if you're a doctor, feel free to correct me in the comments. I really hope you liked this video. I wrote a lot to make it. So if you liked it, you should like the video and subscribe, because I'll make a video. I will, sometime. I'm thinking about Jake Paul. Tell me if you guys care about Jake Paul. And yeah, I got this shiny new mic. I hope you all enjoyed it. I have a really hard time keeping something in just one place, so it might suck. But yeah, like, subscribe, comment. Thank you. I love you. Bye. Started eating less and working out more. That's all, everyone. Oh, look at my makeup. I tried to do the unrecognizable makeup, and I did like a little YouTube short about it, and I'm so insecure. So I know I didn't blend into my neck. Nobody say anything. I can tell on the camera it is such a crazy different. My right, but you know what? I have skin issues. This is why you don't comment about things, guys. I am feeling so sick today, guys. I literally didn't sleep at all. I can't eat anything. It makes me want to throw up, but I decided to get up and do my makeup and film a video because shocker, little behind the scenes info. I filmed the third part first part second, and I'm filming the second part last. So this is the last thing I have to film. It is a short section. The other two parts are already edited, which is sick. So all I have to do is fit this one in the middle, and then I'll be done, and you guys can have this so soon. I'm so excited. But by the time you hear this, the video will already be out. So, hello?
I just wanted to see like the process. Okay, fine.
Yeah, this is it.
Can I be featured?
You want? Yeah. It's so awkward.
Hi guys, I'm Sarah's roommate. I can always hear these videos while I'm washing my face. That's all. Okay, bye. Like and subscribe or whatever.